Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of World History segment here on 101.5. Today, we'll be talking about the different causes of the Great Depression and its different effects that it had. We have two special guests on our show here today, Vanessa from the History Channel and Andrea from History Around the World. Good afternoon. How are you guys today?
Fine, thank you for having us.
Yes, we really appreciate it.
So, let's get started with some of the causes that you guys are familiar with that caused the Great Depression.
Yes, there are many causes to this massive downfall, but one of the most important ones was the crash of the stock market.
Now, why do you think this is?
Well, this date is known as Black Tuesday because since the market crashed in October of 1929, no one expected this. It came as a surprise to many people because the economy had been doing so well. Although the U.S. was making a lot of profit, it still had many things wrong with its economic system. This crash of the stock market only sped up the downfall and caused huge devastation among many Americans.
Can you elaborate on how this affected the people of the country?
Yes, well, it affected the people because many had put their money into stocks thinking that they would be able to make a profit. Just before the crash, when many people were selling more than buying. Some banks started to shut down before they didn't have the money to pay everyone all at once. That day, more than 16.4 million stocks were sold, a new record. People of our country were affected by losing much or all the money that they had invested into stocks. Many lost their jobs, and it just all brought a devastating mood for all.
It must have been rough for the people not being able to afford what they needed. So many things happened in such a short period of time. Now to Andrea. Can you think of any other causes during the Great Depression?
Yes, one of the other causes was the expansion of production of capacities in the U.S.
Can you please explain further into detail about this cause?
Well, even though this time in history was known to be the Roaring Twenties that brought dramatic social and political changes, it was also a time of crisis for many American families. This was a time in which many families owned farms in order to earn their living. Oftentimes, they would produce crops and people would always buy them. However, now that the production of goods increased, people were not buying as much. Not only was this on farms, but also in different factories and businesses. From there, many people lost their jobs because businesses couldn't sell their products. More unemployment caused even less people to buy their products, and this is how many people lost their businesses. So, you see the chain? This wasn't a one-day thing. It developed over time, and yet people didn't see it coming.
Ah, all right. I see. I also have one question. Do you think that the excessive expansion of credit also influenced this downfall?
Oh, of course. But what are some of the ways that you think it affected during this time?
Well, since the introduction of credit came, many people started spending way more than they could afford, thinking that they would be able to pay it off little by little. Loans and credit were given out, but after the crash, many people were unable to pay these back, which caused even more economic problems. This overextension by banks caused unnatural disequilibrium in the money markets that initially caused a boom, then a bust. The same problem came with installment buying. Installment buying allowed people to make a monthly, weekly, or yearly payment on an item that they wanted or needed. However, if they missed as much as one payment, it allowed lenders to repossess that item.
That's true. We almost forgot about that major cause. So all these things caused one of the biggest economic downfalls in history and caused many people to lose much or all that they had.
Also, not only did this affect Americans, but also affected people around the world. Because the U.S. was trading way less than before, many people couldn't get the products that they needed. The United States had emerged from the war as a major creditor and financier of post-war Europe. So once the American economy slumped and the flow of American investment credits to Europe dried up, prosperity tended to collapse there as well.
The Depression hit hardest those nations that were most deeply indebted to the United States, Germany and Great Britain. In Germany, unemployment rose sharply beginning in the late 1929, and by early 1932, it had reached 6 million workers, or 25% of the workforce. Many other countries had been affected by the slump by 1931.
It wasn't just a local struggle, but a worldwide downhill.
However, the U.S. was able to recover afterwards with an amazing President Franklin D. Roosevelt and a positive attitude country.
Wow, this has been an interesting session. Thank you guys for being on the show and letting us know more about the Great Depression.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.